we have to talk. I do not have a lot of time because I just got finished walking for suicide prevention. So I just came here really quickly so we can talk. And I wanted to talk about the Wilsons being dragged and Nicki Minaj and Kenneth Petty allegedly are on the outs. Now, before we get started, let's like, comment, and subscribe. Tap that notification bell so you can get all the updates and alerts. And remember, opinions are not facts. Everything we say here is allegedly and for entertainment purposes entertainment purposes solely. So sit back, relax, sip you some apple juice or my fave, the vegan water, and let's get into the mess, shall we? So I know it's extremely late. I understand. I definitely get it. But there is a shift or something in the paradigm when it comes to these celebrity marriages. People are, I don't know if it's due to the climate we're in, the political climate, the economic structure that's happening, or people are just not buying what the people want them to ingest, right? So before we get started, did I tell y'all to like, comment, and subscribe? Tap that notification bell so you can get all the updates and alerts. And remember, opinions are not facts. Hit those three dots right there is how you can thumbs up or thumbs down the video. Hitting those three dots right there is how you can engage with the video. So sorry if I feel like I'm all over the place, but we have to talk about it really quickly, really fast. So I've seen a couple of the TikTok girlies saying that there is some drama brewing, some brouhaha between the Petties. So I don't know if the girlies are just not interested in marriage. I don't know if because what the streets are saying, Kenneth is doing too much talking. But either way, we're going to talk about it. So let's get into it with the Wilsons. Ciara just literally broke record-breaking numbers, being an independent artist, owning her masters, going out here promoting her new album, right? And guess what happened? The girlies wasn't feeling Russell, who is a big-time NFL player, who is probably on his way out from playing football, about to retire. And the girlies were dragging Russell for asking this. So let me play this for y'all. Let's get into it. Let me start it over. So it says Russell Wilson sparks debate among social media users after surprising Ciara with baby number 5 request during a Q&A session for her new album. When is single coming? Babe, that is such a private conversation. I mean, y'all know we be practicing like we cannot make single. Single's gonna come when God has single. When is single coming? So a lot of people have been asking her about baby number 5. She's been very advocate, like the time is not right, right? So the girlies are on here. They said, I think y'all are really DTM about Ciara and Russell Wilson. A few days ago, y'all were celebrating their love and how he raised her son as his own. Now they're doomed, a vicious cycle. He said, when is number Cinco coming? Baby Cinco coming. Ciara and Russell Wilson want another child. Baby Cinco is a running joke amongst the fans. Trying to negatively spin this shows you're a stranger to being loved properly. He fully supports her career and pushes her to be the best, which she overstated. Trying healing. Russell Wilson is Ciara's op, low-key, because why you at her album release party asking for another baby instead of her album? Russell Wilson doing this repeatedly and publicly to Ciara may be manipulative, but it's to be expected from Christian men like him who want their wives to be barefoot and pregnant until menopause. He was very clear about being hyper religious early on when they were dating. I feel like this. If they want a baby, they can have a baby, right? But this is what happens when you make your brand about faith, family, and then your career, right? If y'all remember The Best Man, uh, Christmas, I forget the second one, The Best Man, right? When they asked Morris Chestnut what would his book be called, he said faith, family, football. Faith, family, football. We have to understand that they could be discussing it, and this could be his way of making sure that she is going to fulfill her promise. We don't know what they talk about behind the scenes, but when you make your image about being in a loving relationship, and this is the man you prayed for and he prayed for, and everything is about how he's just such a good man, you're such a good woman, this is going to spark a debate. And it reminds me of what old boy said on the Pivot podcast about he just feels like Russell Wilson is a square. And it's starting to make sense to me. Now, I didn't like the way that he said it. I think it was Channing who said it. But I will say this. He is at her album release. Instead of asking her about the music and just saying how he's proud of her as a working mother and things of that such, he's talking about baby number 5 that's not here. And she could be having reservations about baby number 5. That could be a thing as well, because most women, even with the help, feel like they're not doing enough. They just don't feel like they have enough time in the day. And she could be conflicted about having another baby. I love successful squares. I'm not saying not to love the successful squares. What I'm saying is, instead of him being focused on her brand, he's focused on, we need to have baby number 5. And there's nothing wrong with that. You know, I think she was kind of caught off guard. I'm not saying there's no love there, but I see why there is a debate, especially in this political climate, especially the things she said about getting back to the music. You can tell she really wants to do the music. You can tell she really misses that aspect of her life. And it comes to that conversation of when women talk about having it all. What does having it all look like to you? And is your spouse supportive? I mean, you know what I'm saying? Oh, I know you're not saying that. You talking about him maybe trying to control her. I don't think he's trying to control her. I hope he's not trying to control her. But she has said that he leads and she listens. She said that when she was on the Poor Minds podcast. She said they don't even argue. But it has been rumored he is very controlling. I'm just telling y'all what they say. I don't have a problem with it. It's not, I don't have a dog in that fight. But I know when it comes to Ciara and Russell, that is like the premier mecca of relationship statuses and goals. Like the girlies look up to Russell Wilson. They can do no wrong. Especially because they got so much backlash about the whole Future situation and her being a single mother and buying into all of that mess, when in reality, she should have never had a baby with Future, if we're going to be clear. Because when she got with him, his baby wasn't even a year old. The baby was fresh out the puss. Her son and Brittany's son are close in age. Real close in age. I think they're a year apart. Or they're like Irish twins or something. Something like that. Hood twins. I don't know. And we saw how that turned out. She couldn't wait. So her body, her choice, but she's married to that man, so she got to come up with an understanding. Do y'all think he's going to be accepting of her going on tour during his football season when he's used to her being there cheering him on? Maybe he doesn't want to play backseat to her career. Those are things they're probably having active discussions about because, in my humble opinion, she knew what she signed up for when she went over there with that man. He knew what he signed up for, but I think there was a lot of give on her part than on his. Because the world has painted him as this man who saved her from single motherhood. I don't know. Much love and respect. Shout out to y'all. Shout out to the international and domestic base. And shout out to all of the Virgos. It says he stayed asking her in front of a crowd. That's all I'm saying. I watch NFL and Russ has a huge ego, so he probably won't like her on tour. Ooh. See, I didn't know that. I didn't know. I just knew he fought with his boss. I knew that he fought with his boss and that's why he left. And I think it was his coach who said stop having all them babies or something like that. I can't remember, but yeah, it was a lot going on in that big trade and move. It wasn't peaceful. It wasn't peaceful. So who knows? I'm not saying it's a Christian thing. What I'm saying is this. She knew what she signed up for, so it is what it is. As soon as she slips back in the entertainment row, here he go. Ooh, so do y'all think he's jealous of her being this prominent figure in entertainment? Because they have coined her the Patty Stringer of the NFL. She gets the girls married, honey. She gets the girls married, but I feel like Ciara is doing big things. A baby right now would be crazy. A baby right now would be crazy. Not because I'm just one of these women, like, don't do it. It's simply because she has a successful independent album. What comes next? A tour. I don't know. Maybe she could ask Cardi B how she do it. As we see, Cardi has not been on tour. So I don't know. I don't know. But questions that need answers. Moving right along. Let's get into Nicki Minaj and Kenneth Petty. Oh, Lord. It must be the marriage edition for the Bay Squad. So Kenneth Petty and Nicki Minaj are rumored to be on the outs due to Kenneth Petty running his mouth. The girlies are saying on the TikTok, on the Twitter, on the social medias that Kenneth Petty and Nicki Minaj are fighting behind the scenes. It's coming down to her catching him cheating or having some type of parasocial affair. Just she lacks trust with him. There's financial constraints. She's supporting him. He's not supporting her. He's using her money to go be with other people. I don't know if that's true. I don't know if that's true. And you are so right. Marriage is give and take. Somebody has to give and somebody has to take. That is so truthful. That is so truthful. That is so truthful. In this entertainment industry, you never know what's true and what's not true. For the longest, people would say that Will Smith and Jada Pinkett had an open marriage and they were fighting and they were living separate lives, all for us to find out that was truthful. So when it comes to Nicki Minaj and Kenneth Petty not being on the best terms, I can believe it. Why can I believe it? Because we actively see Russell Wilson out here asking his wife while she's doing promo for her album about a baby number 5. I said it before and I'll say it again. I have been very critical on Nicki Minaj when it comes to this man being in her life because of all the immense debt she's in. But I cannot take the accountability away from Nicki Minaj because she is a grown woman who actively chose this man. She didn't have to be with him. She chose him. She could have been with anybody. She chose Kenneth Petty. She chose a man with a past. She decided to procreate with this man. She married this man. But if they are having marital issues, she's going to have to pay him to leave. It is what it is. This is what happens when you're in an unevenly yoked situation. Kenneth is not a writer, a producer, a rapper, a singer. He has no ties to the entertainment industry. He is a gangster. And one thing I know about the entertainment industry and women in entertainment who choose gangsters as their significant other, i.e. their husbands, they have to pay like they weigh to sever ties. I don't know if I believe the police was called. I don't know if I necessarily believe that. I don't know if I believe that he's laying hand and foot on her. But if he is, I would not be shocked because there is a history of Nicki just not choosing the best men to be in relationships with. We've seen that with Meek Mill. We've seen that with Safari. And as quiet as it's kept, you root for the person to have a beautiful, loving relationship. But sometimes you don't always get that, especially when you are seeking things that you have not healed from. That's why I'm not shocked and surprised people are dragging the Wilsons. Because let's be very clear. She entered into that relationship rather quick. Her son was still had to be pushed in the stroller when she got with Russell. I'm not mad at it. I think she was doing anything and everything not to be a baby mama again, to be a wife. And sometimes you can't see the forest from the trees and vice versa. So when I look at these two successful women in their own right and the things that they had to sacrifice to be wives, I can see the cracks, but I can also see why people will assume there's cracks. Because let's be very clear, these are celebrities who, when ish gets bad, they hide, they sue, they do any and everything to put on this facade. And that's why I love what Jada Pinkett said. She said, I was tired of putting on this, being in this golden cage. It's really unfortunate because if the women are doing it, I can only imagine what the men are doing to uphold that image. Ciara is going to end up like Angelina Jolie and Mia Farrow with all those kids. Child, not all the kids. Not all the kids. I don't know. It could be a ruse to take away shine from the other album drop. Ooh. Ooh, but why such an extreme like that? Because if she wanted to take it away, she would just release the TMZ 911 phone call or whatever. I don't know about that. What I do know is this: everything that glitters ain't gold. Everything that glitters ain't gold. Ciara ain't going nowhere. She's not. Listen, I have no clue. What I do know is this: I hope they're happy in their marriage. That's all I can hope for. Because people want that to be her downfall anyways. So now why not play on it? I think that's crazy. Why would you put that type of energy into saying you have marital issues when you don't? I feel like that takes over. You know, what you put out into the universe magnifies, right? But the spiritual girlies have been saying for months now that the spirits have contacted them about the petties and whoop-de-whoop. I don't know. I have no idea. So, but it's unfortunate, but I'm not shocked. And the reason I'm not shocked is just everything is about ego. A lot of people don't understand there's a lot of work in marriages. You go from being this individual to being this couple, right? And you still have to keep your individuality while you're maintaining your position as husband and wife. That's a lot. And oh, let's add kids into it. Let's add businesses into it. Let's add family into it. Oh, and the media. I think people really don't understand what it takes to have a successful marriage until they're put up in it and against it, right? Jada Pinkett and Will Smith, right, are looked at as, oh my God, they just faked it. No, they're literally doing the business aspect of the marriage. So many people say what Jada is doing and Will are doing is just typical Hollywood marriages. But I know so many people who've been in marriages where they stayed married simply for not the optics, but for the financial aspects of it. Everybody talks about being happy, but at some point in being an adult, it's not always about being happy. It's about the foundation you have laid. These businesses, because when you divorce, you got to divorce everything. Look at Bezos. They had to divvy up all that stuff before he could get remarried, before she could get remarried. It's a mess. So, again, am I shocked that people are critiquing these marriages? No. And they're on two different spectrums. We have a marriage that is pedestalized as the alma mater, and the other marriage is pedestalized as what not to do. So it don't matter if they a thug or if they're a Christian athlete. People they're always gonna have something to say, and I find that I'm just like, wow. Hopefully they're happy in their marriage, but who knows? Who knows what's real? Who knows what's fake? Especially with the entertainment industry, because again, case in point, Katy Perry. Everybody thought Katy Perry and Russell Brand was so happy until we saw that documentary and that man texted her saying he wanted a divorce while she was on tour after she had just seen him. They had just been together for however long, and she started her tour. And he sent her that she could not believe it. It crushed her. And I think that's why she went and married Orlando Bloom. Yeah, I agree with you. Just a different viewpoint. No, that's no problem. I mean, it could be PR to to be oppy or to sell albums. You just never know. And because so many people have done wild ish to sell records, to get a number one movie, have a number one book, you just never know who's being truthful and who's not. That's why I said when we come here, everything is for entertainment purposes solely, because I have not seen paperwork, but I do understand why people don't like neither marriage. I do understand that. I'm not going to act as if I don't get it. Because on one hand, why are you asking me about a baby when we're talking about an album? And then on the other hand, Nicki, why are you shocked that this man would use your money to cheat on you? I don't know. Katie and Russell Brand never made any sense to me when she popped up with him. I was like, what the what? Elite Leo, I thought they was cute together. Katie and Orlando are divorcing too, right? No, 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 no. They never got married. She said the trauma from her first marriage deterred her from marrying him. But they do have a baby together. They have a son. He did establish a lot of her businesses, so it is what it is. What? Not the ops are in here, child. The troll babies is out tonight. Y'all want to talk about braids, and we talking about Ciara and Nicki Minaj's marriage. Honestly, of the two marriages, I will say this: I don't foresee Ciara leaving Russell, and it's not because she can't. I just don't foresee her leaving him. Ciara is very much playing the long game, and so I think she's had conversations with NFL owners and wags and women who've been married to these athletes for a really long time, right? So this could be her chance at freedom. This could be her getting away from the schedule. Like, it's a lot. You never know what's going into it. Dating an athlete, I dated an athlete before. It is a lot of people want that lifestyle. They do not know what it entails. It entails so much. Like, a lot. Those men, women, and children put up with a lot. And then being an entertainment spouse, I can only imagine what it's like being with somebody who has to be beautiful 24/7. No privacy. We know all of Kenneth's tea just because he's associated with Nicki Minaj. He was out here doing his thing for the longest. But there have been rumors. There have been rumors he was out here with his ex. He gifted his ex a car, and with Nicki's money, a Range Rover. They said they see it in New York. I don't know how true that is, because I don't know Red, but they said that was the gift to her. We saw the text messages where he said he was only using Nicki for money. Nicki saw those text messages and she still married that man. So I don't know. I believe Ciara and Russell have a huge support system behind the scenes. Nicki not so much. Ciara not leaving Russ. She probably wants to collaborate with Taylor Swift now that she's going to be an NFL wife. Ooh. Ooh. Listen. And she's an independent artist too. That's huge. That is huge. They have a whole publishing deal and stuff. Like, I can't lie. Ciara being married to Russell has literally elevated her brand outside of this Atlanta baddie, right? Because when I think of Ciara, it was the face of Atlanta. She wasn't the strongest singer, but she could dance. She had bops. She had style, right? And then she got with Future and came back, and it was a big thing. It was a big deal. And I think this transcended her. Russell really elevated her platform. This is why I say as well, who you marry plays a huge part how society views you. And that's the one thing you get a choice at. You get a choice to marry whoever you please, right? And you choose to marry a loser. That's why people look at Nicki Minaj and give her such a hard time. Because you don't get to choose your family. You don't get to choose your parents. There's a lot of things you don't get to choose, right? You get to choose who you're married to. And who you married to says a lot about your mindset, where you are in life. So I see both sides of the spectrum. Didn't he buy her masters for her? Yeah, she's not leaving. Yeah. I don't know why she didn't stay with Nas. Maybe she likes to control men. I have no idea. I have no idea. You are so right. Ciara was representing ATL before Russ. Now she is a global icon. Who you marry is everything. That's why these men who are not married, they get looked at in such a disparaging light. Look at the Stephen A. Smiths and the Paul Pierces. Them not being married, nobody takes them serious. Even though marriage isn't everything, a lot of people don't take these men serious because in these boardrooms and these meetings and things like that, you just being a single, oh, I'm just enjoying the fruits of my labor. People don't respect that. That's why a lot of people don't respect 50 Cent. 50 Cent really doesn't understand that. He likes to claim himself as this, oh, I'm this and that, and I'm this and that. And people are looking at him as, you're an old in the club. Where is your spouse? You don't even have a significant other. You have two failed co-parenting situations actively. That's why they don't take 50 Cent serious. We can say what we want about Tyler Perry, but Tyler Perry chose a woman who solidifies him in the co-parenting space. And that's another thing. You know, people give Diddy a hard time, but Diddy was allowed to make money because of how his baby mothers acted in the public eye. They did not come across as crass, crude, unhinged, hence why he was able to amass all that money. I won't be shocked if Diddy comes out 2 years from now and gets married. I actually liked Nicki back then. Come to think of it, I believe she's been evil ever since she's been with Kenny. Hindsight is 2020. Seems like that's when she turned evil and unlikable. I mean, I can see why you say that. I can see why you say that. That's why politicians get wives before running for office. It's respected. I mean, it's definitely truthful. Like, how can you, as a boss, tell me anything about family, values, structure, etc., when you don't have that of your own? Like, us finding, look at what Steve Jobs did for Apple, right? Transcender, icon, prolific, did these amazing things, and he was a horrible father. He didn't have the time. We didn't find that out until he was dead. Cory Booker, even though I feel like Cory Booker likes men. So yeah. So I get it. Who you marry is an active choice on how you view yourself, what you're trying to do. It's crazy. Yeah, Elite Leo, we on the same wavelength. I was shocked. I was like, what? But listen, they might have an understanding. Again, marriage is not black and white. What people do in their marriage is their marriage, okay? Sure. But I will say this, who you marry is how society views you. That's why Mariska left Harvey Weinstein. Because she could not be a fashion powerhouse married to this man who's tied to all these bad things. She was still young. Her children were literally practically elementary school. I think barely in kindergarten. She was like, no, I don't have time for this. And that was the smartest thing she could have done. Look at Lindsay Lohan. Lindsay Lohan went from being a wild child to look who she's married to, and having a successful, sober living in Dubai with her husband and her son. It is what it is. Who you marry dictates the lifestyle you want to curate. Elite Leo, please. But on that note, what are your thoughts on this, Base Squad? Do you feel like there's an attack on marriages? Do you feel like Ciara and Russell have some cracks in the ceiling? Do you believe that Nicki Minaj and Kenneth Petty are on the outs? Comment down below. I gotta go. Bye, hoes.